Welcome to Gaming Corner. I am Christian Martinez, and I'm here with my friend Shane Haney, and we are discussing the last generation games, the best of the best of the last gen.
That's
So,
right.
would you like to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start us off with an early one. Actually, the first game that I was ever asked for my ID when I was buying it,
Really?
because surprisingly, this was rated M. It's Batman Arkham Knight.
Oh, Batman. I love the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah, they were all so amazing. They all like revolutionized licensed games. And for whatever reason, this one was rated M, and I can kind of see why. It had a lot of
Yeah.
darker parts of the story, a lot of sort of scarier parts, some more haunting themes when it came to Batman's journey.
Yeah. And and when you were talking about revolutionizing, there's a lot of games that kind of like mimic like its kind of combat system. Like you look at the Middle Earth Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games, it's almost a carbon copy of the Arkham games.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
Yep.
and I honestly, I don't think any game does it better than Arkham Knight. I think they really just expanded on it in every single possible way.
It's an amazing game. Like down from the combat to the story to Batman's whole journey through the game. It's basically the story of Batman, just more approachable to newcomers and
Right.
the game format, which makes it amazing. Obviously.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I think it's a perfect ending to
to this
what I
whole
believe are the best portrayals of any of these characters.
yeah, exactly.
I think you'll never find a better Batman. You'll never find a better Joker in anywhere other than the Arkham games. They're all so good.
and like compared to like the movies or even sometimes in the comics, like the it almost felt like it felt more like Batman and Joker were more like an old married couple.
Right.
Yeah, like, they were like bickering, they were fighting, but then they still like in a sense had this kind of bond where they realized like
Yeah.
they're both messed up in a sense.
You want to go on to your next one? What do you got for us?
So I got Doom. What is the best way to put it aside from it's exhilarating?
Oh yeah, totally. It's you could just shut your brain off and just
Yeah,
go
just
for
like
it.
run through the game, just shooting and killing.
Right. Yeah, it's not too complex.
The only thing somewhat complex is the fact that you have to upgrade your weapons to do even more slaughter to then upgrade those weapons. And like the only thing remotely complex about the game.
That's the thing, is that there's a bit of a strategy. It's not a strategy so much as it's just personal preference as to the type of gamer you are. So while it is running and shooting, some people obviously play the game different from others, and this game really does accommodate different play styles.
Yeah, because there are some people that just um they just run in and they just like I personally do. I just run in and I just murder like everything I see. And then there's like people like my brother who like just scope out the enemies like from far and then they run in and it's like
Right. That's more my play style, is scoping out,
yeah.
is planning ahead.
That would lead us into what's the next game on your list?
My next game is actually SpiderMan. I mean, the way that Spider-Man Spider-Man doesn't feel so much as an improvement over Arkham Knight as it is just sort of a lateral move, because while with like Shadows of Mordor, it seems like they really just gave Batman a sword.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man, it really does feel like the way Spider-Man would fight.
I remember one of the combos, like you literally like launch from an enemy to an enemy using your webs and stuff. So it feels like, yeah, like you said, it feels like this is what Spider-Man would do. And that,
Right.
which I actually, I remember when I first got Spider-Man, and my favorite thing to do was just like try the different outfits, and then like just swing around the entire city.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to say is that like, so with Batman, you obviously glide. Spider-Man, he's just swinging, and the swinging feels so good. They give you a fast travel option in the game, and I've never used it once because it's so much fun to just swing through New York City.
Just this way. And like they made it so much. They made it like so easy too. It's not like where you have to press hold the button and like tap this button multiple times. It's just a simple hold, release, hold, release.
Yeah.
Hold,
and then you can run on walls and you can high five people in the street.
But now we go from like lighthearted stuff to with Resident Evil 7. I am a huge fan of Resident Evil as a franchise, and I remember how recently 5 and 6, they were more like action-oriented than like 4's horror or Resident Evil 1, 2, or 3's horror, which is a reason why Resident Evil 7 like blew up. And they toned down the action a lot, and they included more jump scares, more like just creepy stuff that just make you like in the mood to be like, ugh, like, you know? Especially like some of the bosses, or just how like the enemies have like the little like goop to them and all that.
Right.
Like, that kind of skews you, but also like it's really cool to see.
It has that Resident Evil sort of staple of its character design, of its enemy design. So like I'll see something outside of Resident Evil, like there's a scene in Last of Us Part 2 where you fight this giant like amalgamation of different zombie body parts. Like it's literally just like a walking like pile of hands and legs and stuff. And I said, this is straight out of Resident Evil. Just because like it's Resident Evil has really like created this style of horror video games. Where
not only that, and just like style of character design, like you were kind of mentioning, like you could go like anywhere in any sort of horror movie and you see like a villain, or you see like just some sort of creepy thing, and it's like, this gives Resident Evil vibes, or this looks like Resident Evil. It's because that's just how much of a staple in the horror franchise Resident Evil has become.
Right. Yeah. But just like even just walking around the halls, and at any moment a wall could just break down and just
an enemy coming, especially early on with the dad.
Like,
But I remember like just like in the scene where like he just like every scene he's in is crazy.
It's terrifying. You're in the garage and you're fighting him.
Yeah, like my roommate had Resident Evil on VR, so we were playing it actually early this semester. And we were just like looking at it, and we were like, "Oh my god, who wants to actually fight him?" We paused it, and we were like deciding who was gonna fight because it was just like that creepy and like that like scary in VR. What about you? What about the next game on the list?
We're gonna go back into lighthearted.
Lighthearted? Okay.
Yeah. Uncharted 4. Like a really good finale, it dives more into the stakes that Nate has as opposed to the fate of the world. So like in the third one, the fate of the world is very much at stake because they don't want these evil people to get these evil water. But in 4, it's not so much like the world that's at stake, it's Nathan Drake's life. It's him going back to his wife and possibly, wanting to start a family, and then his relationship with his brother. All of the greatest conflicts are internal, while you're actually looking for buried treasure. This pirate treasure.
In its title, Uncharted 4: Thieves End, which is related to his whole personal journey from like a young man looking for treasure to get rich and all that, to where at the end he's just kind of a little older. I think he's like in his late 30s.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and where he just wants to end.
Yeah.
Or like in the early games, he didn't have to be convinced to go on the adventure. While in this one, his brother and like I think Sully to a certain degree had to convince him to to actually go on an adventure, which shows that he was kind of devoted to his family. And
Right. Yeah, it's simple. The combat is so much fun. You have a grappling hook this time.
yeah,
Just way more creative scenarios, and then of course there's the huge blockbuster sort of sequences where everything's exploding and you're running.
yeah.
The adrenaline kicks in.
That's one of the best things about the Uncharted franchise, and especially Uncharted 4, is it perfectly balances the whole like stealth, the stealth scenes and the stealth parts of the missions, and then like the things where everything's blown up. Like
Yeah.
there's one part where you're literally sneaking. I think it was when I'm trying to remember the mission. You were trying to like retrieve something when it was you and Sam and I think Sully, right? You were like in suits.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, like that was a perfect stealth mission. And if I remember at the end, there's just like an explosion, a car chase, and all that. And it's just like you go from 1 minute just like sneaking around to the next moment you're just like shooting at the back of a car, like
Yeah.
Which not with guns but with samurai swords is our next game, Ghost of
Oh right.
Tsushima. Which is very similar to Uncharted, where it's a very personal story to the main character, Jin Sakai.
Yeah.
Which he's like a samurai, which they're meant to be honorable and all that, but he's more focused on the people. So his like whole journey through the game is him trying to see what his own personal honor is, what the duty of a samurai means to him, which involves like stealth and limiting the lives lost that like certain battles would incur instead of like poisoning. Like in one mission, you could poison the drinks of the Mongols, which kills them all, but it's less honorable compared to what a samurai.
Yes,
all his troops into battle, which it's a very personal thing to him because it gets him kicked out of his whole clan and makes him like basically a criminal in his own home country that he's trying to defend. And like you'd think, oh, this is made by a Western company, maybe it's not historically accurate to Japan. Well, like no, this game was even more well received in Japan. Like even historians were saying like this is amazing. It's like it's accurate to our heritage and all that. And it was just like, which is another thing. It shows that this game, it actually was made by people who care about how they wanted their project to come out, which shows because it's on Metacritic, its user review was 9.2, which is, or 9.2 or, yeah, 9.2. It's amazing.
Wow.
Like you rarely see games that like, especially very AAA games that go above like 8.5 or maybe at most 9 if they're really lucky.
Yeah.
Like, stunning game. It's amazing.
So moving on to the beautiful, rich landscape of Tsushima, I'm gonna move over to Afghanistan and talk about Metal Gear Solid 5.
Metal Gear.
I wore my Metal Gear shirt today. I have the
Really?
yeah. So like we talked about Doom, where you said some people like to scope out. I gravitate towards scoping out situations and coming up with ideas in my head before I approach it at all. And a lot of that has to do with Metal Gear Solid 5 because it attracted me so much to that way of thinking, where you will land in your helicopter out in the middle of the desert and you'll see a base and you'll know that you have to rescue a prisoner or find some blueprints for a weapon, and you will be on a hill with your binoculars and you'll see how many guys there are. You'll say, all right, I can sneak around and I can get him, and you can approach it deadly. You can go in without killing a single person, and just the sandbox level design is amazing. I think this is the best example of a sort of sandbox, like the world is your oyster sort of game.
Yeah, like I remember like the first time in that game where you were just like given the ability to just say, here's the keys, go wherever. It's just like, all right. And you just like, you see this little area, like you said, you kind of like scope it out and you're like, all right, now I want to take this out. And like I'm the guy who wants to who wants to try like getting through it without being seen. So every time
Right.
seen, I would always be like shit, and I would restart or something. Like
Right.
I save. It's such an accomplishing feeling to be able to like look at everyone and be like, all right, I'm gonna get through this without being seen, and then actually be able to accomplish that.
Right.
You feel like, oh my god.
Yeah.
They don't make it easy on you. Like you still could do it. You have the tools, but they don't make it easy on you. Like,
Yeah.
These guys aren't like so oblivious that they don't have like they're deaf and blind. Like they will see you if you're doing something stupid.
I love the gameplay so much. I think the gameplay alone makes this game a 10 out of 10. But the story does not really do the Metal Gear franchise justice, I don't think. This is coming from someone who... The Metal Gear franchise is my favorite. I've played all of them several times. I play all of them once a year because of how much I love these games. And then 5 is just... The story... They had to wedge it in because the franchise's story sort of ended with Metal Gear Solid 4.
So they just kind of just threw something out at the end.
I mean, if you have 5 hours, I could absolutely try to explain the story to you, but that's about as long as it would take.
Which, going from one desert to another, Red Dead Redemption 2. It's basically GTA, just Wild West, like cowboy.
Yeah, I mean that's all you need to know, and then like I'm sold on it.
Yeah, and like a lot of like stupid side stuff that just like are just like funny, and they just add like kind of flavor to the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
They make the world like lived in and not just like empty.
Right.
Some games where they have this huge world and there's like nothing to do in it. While Red Dead, the world has like side missions. It has like people that just roam around and talk to each other that you could like hear, listen to their conversations and stuff. And there's like still the whole like infamy system and all that, which was really fun.
Yeah, it was fun to play around with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes it, you want to be a cowboy. Like just being a cowboy is fun. It's so being able to walk around as a cowboy.
It's similar to like Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like in Ghost of Tsushima you're a samurai, and it's like sometimes you just want to experience that life, so you play Ghost of Tsushima. So like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's like where you're just like, you know what, I want to like see what that was like, and you just Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Because you could either be an outlaw in that game, or if I remember correctly, like I could be misremembering this, you could also do like certain good actions to make you like less.
Yeah.
Which always makes the game feel like your choices matter in a sense.
So yeah, going into God of War, this is without a doubt my favorite game to come out of this generation. It's the best examples of everything. So like you said, Ghost of Tsushima really represents the culture, the Japanese culture really well. God of War represents this ancient Nordic mythos so well, the way that it explores. It retells, in weird ways, Norse mythology. Like Baldur, his only weakness was the like thistle branch at the tallest tree in all of Jotunheim or something like that. I don't know exactly. And then you end up using that thistle branch to fight him at the end and make him vulnerable to your attacks. And
another thing about it is the game has great combat, and it also has great environments, like you said, but the story itself...
Oh my gosh. It's beautiful, that story. It's not afraid to put Kratos' relationship with his son Atreus at the forefront. And those are the stakes, because your story is just you're going to scatter the ashes of your dead wife on the tallest mountain in the 9 realms.
Yeah.
And that's the story. Kratos is not on some sort of revenge plot to kill all of the gods. He wants to be left alone. Right.
Becoming a family man and is caring for his son. Like, you see that in the beginning of the game, he's like still heavy with the ashes and stuff, because he's like, boy, I'm hungry. Let's go get food, and that's it. He doesn't really care for him, but like towards the end of the game, he still calls him boy, but there are certain times he would call him Atreus and like show true, genuine care for him. Like when Atreus was ill, you see him like rushing, not knowing what to do. Like he rushes over to Freya.
And there's the moments when Atreus doesn't know how much Kratos loves him, where Atreus will be disappointed in himself and he'll be turned away, and Kratos is about to put his hand on Atreus's back, and then he just doesn't because he's so scared of that attachment because of what happened to his last family.
Not only that, because of his past of literally the father and son thing that plagued his relationship with his dad, and then his dad with his grandpa. So like, you know. Right.
And then they introduced that with Baldur, because the villain Baldur hates his mother so much, Freya, because all Freya wanted to do was make it so that Baldur couldn't die, and by doing that, it's, you know, he can't actually feel anything, and he would much rather be vulnerable and feel. Yeah, and so it was this act of love, this act of unconditional, undying love that split Baldur and Freya, that you sort of see develop between Kratos and Atreus. So yeah, I think God of War is the perfect balance of story, environment, and combat in a video game for this generation, the past 7 years.
It's one of those recent games, so it goes to show you what the end of the generation is. And since the new God of War game is going to be early in the next generation, we could truly see the gap of the generation.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll see what happens.
Rocket League.
Yes.
About Rocket League. Rocket League isn't as complicated as any of those other games. It's basically it's basically just soccer with cars. And that's kind of it. Like, there's just a ball, drops in the middle, you drive, you launch it into a goal, and it's one of those games that was free on PlayStation. I think it's $20 now, right? Or is it $10?
It's not expensive. It's probably cheap. It's probably around that, like between 10 and 20.
But now it's like an esports game. Like, people play it all the time.
They take it seriously.
and it's fun because you could customize the cars. You could I think the stadium there's like a few different versions of the stadium.
Right. Yeah.
And it's still like really cool because it's like a match of 5, and you could play certain positions. Like, you could be the goalie, or you could just or early when the game first came out, everyone would just run straight for the ball. There would be no strike.
Right.
Like, everyone would just be like, I'm going for the ball, and like sometimes you even clash with your own teammates.
That was the hardest thing to get used to when I first started playing. That was trying not to hit the people that were on my team.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine how unbelievably angry the people I played with got at me for running into them.
It's funny because we went from like talking sophisticated about God of War and other games to just Rocket League.
Well, Rocket League is a good idea to throw in, because it's one of those. It's, you know, there's gripping and strategic, intense games.
Yeah, there's so strategic.
And then there's you know, you could buy for $15 on literally every single console has Rocket League, and you could just pick up the controller, and you just, if you know how to go straight, you're good. You're having fun.
Thanks for watching Gaming Corner. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you are excited for the PS5 like me and Shane are. But I hope you're also excited to play all these games that you have heard of, because they're still going to be there. They're still past gen, and they're still going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
It has.
Thanks for watching.